You're listening to The Human Upgrade with Dave Asprey. You're listening to The Human Upgrade with Dave Asprey. Today's a mini episode where I'm going to show you some of the cool technology that you can experience firsthand at the Biohacking Conference. It's at the end of May, beginning of June in Dallas, Texas. Go to biohackingconference.com to check it out. And we have more than 100 vendors who are making really cool new stuff in the world of biohacking that you probably haven't even heard about. So you can come and you can talk to the inventors and you can play with the technology. That's why I started the conference. I wanted community and I wanted to touch and feel the stuff that I might want. Our guest today is someone who's working at the intersection of frequency medicine and light therapy by using photons of light as carriers for frequencies. It's a really unique idea from a company called ARRC, and his name is Mike McIntyre, who's CEO. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate being here.
How'd you get into photobiomodulation, which is the technical term for what you're doing?
Yeah, I actually started back in 2006 from the aesthetic side, and we were sending panels out to estheticians, and they would come back to me and they'd say, do you know what this machine's doing now? Because they put it on different things. And we saw these incredible reactions with it. So basically in about 2012, we started creating our first whole body light bed. 2015, we actually came out with it. And, in the last 9 years, we've had 7 prototypes, 7 advancements of technology. Pretty much everything's getting better.
The whole industry is progressing quickly because the ability to just get better LEDs. It's every 6 months, a new generation comes out.
Yeah.
Which makes it so we're always getting better.
Right.
You're an interesting guy too, though, to be in this industry because, you're just an elite level power lifter for 20 years and a 40-year meditator. So, you're just trying to use light therapy so you can be at least average levels of powerful and calm. Is that the...
Yeah, so you're mentioning, forget the powerlifting. I'm too old for that anymore, but...
you finally stopped?
No, I'm still lifting. I'm still working out. But from the spiritual standpoint, that creates a different attitude.
It does.
I believe that we literally can create systems that can change consciousness.
That's the big goal. If you're looking at upgrading humanity, you got to fix some of the hardware problems, but who cares if you fix the hardware if you're still angry and unhappy and empty all the time, right? You've got to do both. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
What brought you into the world of spirituality?
Actually, I started meditating in college. I started doing TM in college. That was about 800 years ago. And, it was phenomenal. And then I got involved with Yogananda back in the 90s. And yeah. In Qigong, I've been doing Qigong daily for 30 years now. So
that'll definitely generate some extra energetics. So I have a rich spiritual practice, we'll just say non-traditional, multi-lineage, and involving technology whenever appropriate and faster. That's the whole 40 years is inside of what I do. But I know very well that when I use specific frequencies and colors and types of light, it lets me more quickly access some of the advanced meditation states.
Mm-hmm.
So you're definitely someone who knows a lot about light and frequencies and knows a lot about meditation. What have you found about the intersection between what you're doing with ARRC and with meditative states? Is there a connection?
Yeah, no question. It's funny when we watch people and they come out of the chamber, when we put them in specific vibratory frequencies and they come out of the chamber, you'll see their whole energy change. It goes from the person who's super hyper to toning them down to the person who's basically kind of dead in energy to brightening them up. So and we can change how we do that by shifting the frequencies. Again, we pulse to 400,000 hertz. We're moving to 2 million hertz. Which gives us just tremendous capabilities.
So 2 million hertz means 2 million times a second the light's blinking on and off.
Yes, sir.
For listeners, If you ever looked at like a Christmas tree LED and you turn your head and it kind of blinks, or you see it blinking on your iPhone, it's blinking at 120 times a second and you can still barely pick it up. If you have an advanced meditator mind or a fast mind, like both of us do, even when they're at 240 hertz, which are supposed to be not blinking, you can still see it blink. So my body does not like LEDs because I can see the blinking, even though a lot of people can't. But when you get up to 2 million, there's no way your brain can process that because it's orders of magnitude faster than what it can pick up. But your mitochondria absolutely do pick these things up because we know that mitochondria communicate with photons, with light. They make light. Your gut bacteria make light, and even your DNA makes one photon every 40 seconds. So is it that big of a stretch to say that we could embed those frequencies and photons and expose the entire body at the same time and get really strong effects? I don't know. What do you think? Does that work?
Yeah, that works. It's absolutely not a stretch, especially if you take a look at epigenetics. And, we're sending, I look at light and frequency and vibration as an information pattern. It's like what Harry Massey over at Nest Health is doing. We're imprinting the quantum field with information. And that allows the body to entrain to that information that we imprint. So essentially, we look at disease, that all disease starts in the quantum field, and the root cause of all healing comes from the quantum field. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to input the information field so that the body entrains to that and then becomes better.
Some listeners likely haven't heard of information fields, but many have heard of quantum fields, but very few of us, including me, fully understand quantum fields, probably because no one on Earth does yet.
Who does, right?
But information field theory actually goes back quite a while, and it also explains reality. So the idea that you can simultaneously have an information field that organizes, say, what tissues become what. Is that a quantum field, or is it an information field, or is it both, or do we know yet? We're not quite sure, but we know that light, electromagnetic frequency, sound, and even very slow things like the light-dark cycle of the sun is a blinking thing. It just blinks so slowly that we call it day and night. So our bodies are doing all kinds of invisible things according to these. And I think this is one of the most noteworthy explanations for why, and this is a Qigong guy, one person's energetics can affect another across the room, especially if they're trained. And it's repeatable. You can test it with science. And a lot of people just got mad because I said that. Like, if you just got mad, I didn't even need to use Qigong to affect your energy fields. You're just easily programmable. But this stuff is real. And if you still want to be curious about it, okay, fine, then believe it's not real and whatever. That's okay. But assuming it is, what are the mechanisms? And I think it's these things. And I think your tech is tapping into that stuff. I know because, I've tried it.
Yeah. I'll take it a step further. We know about quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
First of all, I look at, doesn't mean I'm right, but I look at the information field, the quantum field as one and the same. I also look at it as divine consciousness.
So you think they're the same? The information field and quantum field?
I think the quantum field is an information. Information is energy, and that's the energy of the field. Doesn't make me right, but that's how I explain it to myself. But from what we see out there, for example, we've created a system where we can treat people remotely. And I can't tell them about their treatment. And in fact, I'll tell them, I said, I'm not going to tell you that we're doing this, but I'll get them in the session, we'll run them, and then I'll send a text out to them. I say, hey, you're in the chamber. And they'll come back and go, oh my God, my eyes were flushed or my ears were flushed and I had all this energy going through my body. Yeah, so there's something going on there. And we're talking 1,000 miles away. In fact, the person that gave me that one is in Austin.
It's interesting. There's another company who's been on the show multiple times. It's a device that doesn't even have electricity running through it. And actually, that's their at-home device. They have a remote thing that's got a dozen studies backing it up. And because I've studied with, leaders from traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong and shamanic stuff, they all know. In fact, this isn't even special. And I don't think it's I think it's easier if you meditate, but these are techniques that almost anyone can learn. It just takes a while to get good at them.
Yeah.
And it's to the point that, I've been, well, I'm just going to see what I can do here. And then the person that I'm working on, without even knowing that I'm doing it, will text me and say, what the heck? Right. So maybe I'm making it all up. I just don't think so. And the fact that you can use tech to enhance it, of course you can.
Yeah.
You can use tech to do almost anything better as long as it's the right tech. When people come to the Biohacking Conference and they get a chance to hop on the ARRC bed, how long is the session?
We have, from a dose optimization standpoint, we can do sessions in 8 minutes and optimize for performance. The peaks for pain are typically twice as long. So if you're getting rid of pain, you're about 15 minutes. The frequency sessions that we have in, because it takes so long to unravel a frequency, those are going to be 21 minutes. And the reason for that is because we need to plug as many frequencies as we can. Within those 21 minutes, we do those in 3-minute sets. So if I run 2 frequencies simultaneously, then I've got 14 that I can run 21-minute session. Lyme disease, for example, has 28 frequencies. So that's why we have Lyme 1, Lyme 2.
So we start at 8 minutes and maybe go up to 16 for people at the conference. And how do they feel? Are they kind of stunned? Are they tired? Are they high? Like what's the typical response?
Yeah, so we're kind of known as a red light therapy company. Red light therapy is a button on the machine.
Yep.
And a lot of the people that use our system have used red light therapy beds, and they're awesome. They're awesome in what they do.
They just stimulate mitochondria.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily feel it when you come out. When people come out of our chamber, they're like smiling. They're going, "Oh my God, oh my God!" That's the reaction we want. Happy, calm, energized. Yeah, pain's gone, etc. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. That's it's actually incredible because we know that flashing lights can affect brain states, and there's just a rich world of operating system things that you just can't see with your brain that are happening in your body, and we're getting closer and closer to knowing exactly what to do. And
right.
You've got a bunch of different programs on there. Tell me a story about someone who hopped on and then hopped off. Like, what was the most dramatic thing you've seen from use of the ARRC?
Kind of a long story, but Mark and Kelly at Body Center in Newport Beach told me the story of a gentleman. He walked in and his hand was shaking really bad. And he said, "I hear that you guys can help me." Okay. And anyway, so Mark looked at him and he said, "Okay, yeah." He put him in the chamber. And the gentleman came out and his hand was shaking. And, when he came out, he goes, "What the, did you do to me?" Right. And Mark's like, uh-oh. Anyway, he came back and he said, "This is the least my hand has shaken in 20 years.
Wow.
And then take it a step further. Mark's in the center and a young lady comes in about 3 weeks later. And the guy had been continuing to use the light, but he uses it twice a week. And a lady came in, she had tears on her eyes and she's kind of crying. And basically she said, "I don't know what you did, but my dad is a changed man. He couldn't hold a fork in his hand before. He served us dinner last night."
Wow.
So it's like, we hear this all the time. I'm going to do one more if I have your,
Go for it.
So this is a really cool one. They bought a machine and the person has stage 4 lung cancer, right? And cancer is actually a contraindication. We don't recommend you doing it. It's going to change. That's going to change. But basically, they went to the doctor, and the only thing they did was a light bed. That's the only thing they did different. They did it over 6 weeks. The doctor looked at the scan. He scanned him. He goes, He goes, "Okay, I need to scan you again." He goes, Did it a third time. He goes, and the doctor turned around. He had tears in his eyes. He looks at him. "I don't know what's going on, but all the nodules are gone." Those are things where you just go, wow.
I've seen enough cases of that where doctors, especially if they're not functional cancer doctors, you say, "Do you want to know what I did?" And they say, "No, it was a miracle." And they will not listen to what you did. And then there are more and more doctors getting curious, saying, "I must have missed something in med school." Right. And then they start looking at what's working in cases where it shouldn't work. And that's where all the gold is. Like you don't look where it's supposed to work. Wait, hold on, that could not have worked. And instead of saying, therefore it didn't, you say, I wonder what they did. And would it work again? And it turns out you're seeing it does. And I want to be really clear. You're not making any claims for treating cancer. Just like anytime you come into an Upgrade Labs, we don't treat anything. We help your body be healthier. And if a side effect of being healthier is your diabetes or something went away, well, oh no, but like that's not our goal. And this is important for all listeners.
Really?
You have a right to be healthier. Do whatever the heck you want. And if some establishment says that you're not allowed to cure a disease by being healthier, that's actually not true. You are. And if the diseases all just fall by the wayside, but you weren't treating them, you can do that. But if you say you're treating them, then you can't do it. The famous case of a guy who got fined for talking about antioxidants in cherries because there were studies showing cherries did something for heart disease. So they took away his farm. So I'll just tell you, if you go to your doctor or your pharmacist and you say, I'm working on curing whatever, they might not do what you want. But if you say, I'm looking on just improving my health, then suddenly your lens changes. And that's why biohacking is so important. And that's also why in the world of biohacking, there's no judgment. I only want you to do what works. And if you use an ARRC bed with embedded frequencies in it that causes a biological shift that you wanted, good. If you needed a pharmaceutical drug with low side effects, good. If you wanted to go on, some sort of diet that's lower in toxins, good. Unless it has kale. Geez, kale's just gross. But okay, other than that, it's all good. So what I want you to understand is everything's a potential tool. Everything has an upside and a downside. What is the downside of the ARRC bed? Like, what are the potential side effects of this?
There really isn't a downside. So we can lose benefits. So if we look at it's a biphasic dose, which basically means as we increase energy over time, we hit a peak. And as soon as we hit that peak and we start overdosing, we lose benefit. We don't cause damage, but we lose benefit. So basically, we definitely want to be dose optimized. And that's one of the things. In fact, I had Dr. Michael Hamlin on retainer with me in 2018, building our system so that we would dose optimize even when we're using the frequency. So that's really important. So side effects, no. Are there a couple contraindications? We do have some contraindications, but no, not side effects.
And you compare this with the side effects of eating garbanzo beans. There are more side effects from garbanzo beans than from what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't like farting anyway, there's more contraindications. And the same thing for pharmaceuticals. So what I'm teaching everyone in the biohacking world to do is don't be judgy, unless it's kale, and look at the risks first, and then look at the benefits. And then you've got a way to see the world. Because what marketers will do is they'll say, look at the benefits, and they don't tell you the risks, right? But your job is minimize risk while maximizing benefits. So you have to look at both, and you should throw out the stuff that's, if you're a Western doctor and they're saying, well, they need potassium, like, well, here's some cyanide with potassium. You should take that because you didn't look at the cyanide, you only look at the potassium, and that was dumb. So as a human being and as a biohacker, you look at something like the ARRC LED, it's not likely to hurt you. So you can take off the risk side, or at least make it exceptionally low. And then are the benefits likely to be? Then you look at all the mechanisms of action, and you only have 6,000 studies on photobiomodulation in your library, right?
Right. Not too many.
There's a little chance this might do something good for you. So then you're saying, okay, this is worth consideration. And that's why you come to the Biohacking Conference, and then you say, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I'll book a session. And you're doing free sessions, right? When you're there?
Yes.
Good deal. I should have checked with you ahead of time. So guys, come to the Biohacking Conference. It's biohackingconference.com. Meet Mike and talk to him about meditation. Talk to him about the embedded frequencies, nerd out, and just be with thousands of other biohackers who've worked on their brains, worked on their spiritual side, and are continuing to work on it. And you'll just find there's a welcoming community of people who are interested in living longer than they're supposed to. People who laugh at health span, like, that's all you want? Maybe I wanted a doubling of my lifespan with healthspan the whole time. Like, these are people who think big. So come hang out with Mike, come hang out with me. Check out the ARRC LED, which, by the way, is at arrcled.com. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. Mike, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
You're listening to The Human Upgrade with Dave Asprey.